In the last section, we put together our compile script. We got down to the very bottom here, and we wrote out a kind of nasty for loop. So I want to clarify exactly what's going on inside of here. First, right above the for loop, I want to add a console log statement, and I want to log out the output object. Remember, output is coming from the Solidity compiler. Let's now save this file, we'll rerun the script, and we'll get a better idea of exactly what output is. Back at the terminal, I'll again run compile.js. Now we do have to wait a second or two for the Solidity compiler to run. The good news is that this is a pause that we will not have to wait for when we start actually building our project. It's really just a one-time wait. All right, so here's our console log. Now if I scroll up, you're going to see everything that we saw before that represents our outputted contract. If I scroll up enough, and it might take just a second to actually find it, but somewhere in here, somewhere, lo and behold, here we go. So the object, or the thing that we just console logged, is an object that has two separate properties on it. The first property is campaign factory. This is a key that references all of the output from our compiler for the campaign factory contract. If I scroll up even farther, we'll eventually see another similar key for our campaign contract. And here it is right here. So you can see we've got an object. We are definitely working with an object, and it has a key of :campaign and :campaign factory. So back inside of our code editor, the for loop might make a little bit more sense right now. This is a for-in loop. A for-in loop is used to iterate over the keys of an object. So we are iterating over both the campaign factory contract and the campaign contract. The key that we were just looking at will be assigned to this contract variable. And when I say key, I'm talking about this string right here. So contract, that contract variable, is going to be either the string :campaign or :campaign factory. So then inside of the for loop itself, we call a function called output JSON sync. Output JSON sync, you might have a pretty good instinct of what this thing does. It's going to write out a JSON file to some specified folder inside of our directory. So we are passing in a path to the build path, and then specifically a file inside there that we are calling contract plus JSON. So maybe now it makes a little bit more sense where this colon right here is coming from. We have a colon in the file name because we are using this key right here, and the key itself has a colon in it. We then append on the .json extension so that we very clearly label what type of file this is. The other thing that might be a little bit unclear is the second argument to this function, the second argument to output JSON sync. The second argument is the actual contents that we want to write to this JSON file. So if we reference back to the output object, which is this entire big console log thing right here, so we are referencing this entire big object, and we are trying to pull off either the :contract or :contract, or excuse me, :campaign or :campaign factory. And we write out the entire thing using output JSON sync. If we open up either one of these files, you'll see all the JSON contents that we just saw over at the terminal. So here's like the assembly property. Somewhere inside of here, you're going to see a bunch of other related stuff as well. Like here's all the instructions. We just saw the bytecode like right here. Yeah, runtime bytecode. So basically, it's all inside of here. All right, so that's pretty much the compile script. Now I do want to do a little bit of cleanup here. I want to clean up that console log. And the other thing that I'm thinking, we don't really want to have a file name with :campaign. So I think that before we create the actual file name right here, we should do contract, and then we should subtract or remove the colon from that thing. So on contract, I'm going to say .replace, replace, and I want to replace the colon character with empty string, like so. By the way, if you want to use a little bit of ES 2015 syntax right here and use a template string instead of using string concatenation, that's totally fine. You could definitely go ahead and do the refactor. But I think this line of code is already confusing enough, so I'm just going to leave it as is. All right, now here's the moment of truth. we just made a change to our compile script. So the output that I expect to see now should not have a colon. So I now want to recompile our contracts. And when I do so, I want to make sure that the existing code or the existing files that I have inside there get completely blown away and entirely replaced with this new version that does not have the colons inside of it. Remember, that's the entire idea behind this compile script. Anytime we make a change to our contract from here on out, we should be able to rerun the compile command and be 100% confident that only the most up-to-date version of our contracts exist inside the build directory. So back at the terminal, let's rerun the node compile.js command. And then we should be able to look inside of our build directory and verify that the old files that we just created got blown away and completely deleted. Okay, so back over here, and I can see inside the build folder, yep, it looks like the colon is completely gone. So that definitely means that we are deleting everything inside the build directory and then replacing it with this newly compiled version of our campaign factory. So this is looking pretty good. Let's continue in the next section, and we're going to get started on writing some tests around our campaign contracts as well.